In the Nordics, there's been nearly 700 deals in the region so far this year. Our next guest says Nordic companies have a global perspective and confidence remains strong. Gary Weiss joins us, Managing Director of Nordic M&A at JP Morgan. Gary, the Nordics I've been speaking to are absolutely terrified. To be fair, they're Swedes, and they're terrified about what's happened at government level, at the election level, and they're worried what this means for the corporates as well. Is there a potential spanner in the works there?
No, I don't think so. I think when you look at the Nordic region, and particularly the Swedish companies, they tend to be very, very global, very international. And my sense is that most of their businesses, resides outside of Sweden. Most of their activities, most of their cash flow derives from outside the country. So I think that while it's probably some element of concern, the domestic politics and potentially, what that means for, potentially some of the domestic taxation, speaking, I think their operations and all that would insulate them from any domestic political turmoil.
I mean, when we think about the innovation, we think about technology, we think about the likes of Nokia and what have you historically as well. Is it still technology, given the fact we've been talking about Mojang coming into you as well, is that still the area where the greatest opportunities are?
Well, if you look at the M&A activity over the last 12 months, it's been very, very diversified. The Nordic region itself, taken as a whole, is a very, very diversified economic area. And as a consequence, you see companies from the oil patch all the way through to the technology area. Although uniquely in Europe, the Nordic region does have a lot of technology companies. So I think you're going to see a lot more in technology, but I think you're also going to see a lot more in the other sectors, healthcare, the oil patch, energy, really right down the line, and including obviously capital goods and industrials.
Yeah, good morning. This is Hans Redeker from Morgan Stanley, and the question I have is concerning the household debt level you have in Sweden. That is at a record high for any G10 country, and what we have seen as well is that the Swedish economy had a period of underperformance. We have substantial exposures into the Russian business. We have the banks exposed into the Baltic region, which is currently slowing down quite dramatically because of the Russian uncertainty. And then on top of that, you have a banking sector which is highly dependent on wholesale funding. Does that not take a little bit of shine off your bullish suggestions?
Well, I think that the numbers you threw out are absolutely right in terms of household debt and basically the ex-Soviet bloc exposure. The Nordic banks as a whole are extremely well capitalized, and I think as a consequence they weathered the financial crisis extremely well. I would say that generally speaking, those trends would have some relevance to the banking sector, although as I said, I think it's generally speaking well protected and well capitalized. And I think the industrial sector, because of its global perspective, is not going to be terribly affected by those trends.
Gary, what's going to drive the deals going forward here? I mean, we can obviously see what the tax inversion process has meant for Ireland and other parts of Europe. More tricky, though, when it comes to the Nordics, because domestic tax rates are quite high. So what's going to push the deals?
Well, I don't think it's going to be inversion-driven. I think that basically it's going to be, financial and synergy-driven. It's going to be operational and synergy-driven. If you look at the Nordic region, because the companies are so global, they make both great acquirers and great targets. From an acquisition perspective, because they tend to have operations throughout the world, they tend to be able to derive and realize synergies in whatever region they're buying. Similarly, because they're global companies, other multinationals look to buy them not just for their Nordic exposure, but actually for their global operations. And as a matter of fact, most of the companies that we deal with, their Nordic operations represent the vast minority of their revenues. Yes?
Which is the hottest sector, very briefly?
I would say probably technology would still remain the hottest sector.
Excellent. Good to see you this morning, Sir. Gary Weiss, Managing Director at Nordic M&A at JP Morgan.
Right, let me